Recording in progress.
All right. Go, sir.
Just gotta get the live stream going.
Good evening. I'd like to call this,
Uh-oh.
please hold.
We're recording that now.
We gotta
Somehow
play
the wires crossed.
We are good to go, Stanley, but obviously we have cross connection problems.
That's next door.
Next door.
My updated, quote, updated things that I had.
It might be. All right, I'm just gonna pause this and mute this for a moment.
Okay.
Is that Steve Woods out here?
Sean, what'd you say?
I just thought I heard another meeting happening. It sounded like Steve Woods might have been.
Yeah, we're having cross connection with the meeting next door.
I see.
They're on it. Okay. I would like to call this special meeting of the Newington Board of Education to order for Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. The time is 7:02 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Deb, would you please call the roll?
Here.
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 Anthony Neely,
Here.
Newton,
Here.
Parati,
Here.
Kim Sharma. Yeah, okay. Stephanie Weaver,
Here.
Anastasia. Don't think I either, so, let's see, I'll roll that.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with our first resolution, honoring our school cafeteria staff. Resolution honoring Newington School Cafeteria Workers, September 24th, 2025. Whereas Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 has been proclaimed as Newington School Cafeteria Workers Day. And whereas the Newington School Cafeteria Workers prepare and serve an average of 2,250 meals per day. And whereas the Newington School Cafeteria Workers follow local and state health standards when preparing meals. And whereas the Newington School Cafeteria Workers prepare meals following nutritional guidelines established by the United States Department of Agriculture and the state of Connecticut. And whereas the Newington School Cafeteria Workers have shown dedication and conscientious performance when serving school lunches. Therefore, we do hereby proclaim Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 as Newington School Cafeteria Workers Day. Be it resolved that we urge all the citizens of our community to join with us in actively expressing gratitude to Newington cafeteria workers on this very special day. Be it further resolved that the Secretary of the Newington Board of Education is directed to spread this resolution upon the minutes of this meeting and to provide a suitable copy for presentation.
Congratulations.
Come on up.
That's a thankless job.
Oh my goodness. Hi.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to sing?
You're written on your shirt,
Right.
so.
Not at night.
Yeah, they will do a couple on the other side of this variety. Maybe you other folks, if you wouldn't mind, that way we'll kind of balance it.
There you go.
But a lovely turnout we have.
Everybody ready?
Thank you.
We want to thank you so much for today. We appreciate all of you guys giving all your support we have through the year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Stay a bit.
Yeah,
We
stick
do-
around till,
Yes, we do have online, Ms. Colbert to read statement on behalf of Dana.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to take a few minutes tonight to talk about the food service staff. They really are so much more than people who make and serve meals. Every day, they make connections with students. Sometimes it's a smile, a kind word, or remembering their favorite lunch item, but it can really brighten a student's whole day. I love hearing the stories they share with me, and I save them for nights like this. This is from Dana, not from me, because they show the heart of what our staff does. One story that stuck with me came from our welcome back meeting in August. One of our employees told us at the end of the last year, a group of fourth graders asked her to sign their yearbooks. They told her how much they were going to miss her next year. Isn't that just sweet? Moments like that remind me that the cafeteria isn't just a place to get meals, it's a place where kids feel cared for and connected. And that's because of the relationships our staff build with them every single day. I'm so proud of this team and the impact they have on our students' lives. Thank you. And that's from Dana Markovics, the Director of Food and Nutrition Services. And I agree with every word she said. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Those of you online for the TPZ meeting, having some technical difficulties right now, crossing rooms, please hang in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, our next. Yeah, you can stick around. I'll open up to board comments after these three, yes. So if you want to hear nice words about, more nice words, welcome to stay. Resolution honoring Newington School Security Officer, September 24th, 2025. Whereas Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 has been proclaimed as School Security Officers Appreciation Day, and whereas the Newington Public School System is committed to honoring its school security officers and recognizing their contributions to the educational system, and whereas the school security officers are well qualified and dedicated to the safety and security of students, faculty, staff, and visitors at the schools, and whereas the school security officers maintain a safe and secure environment for effective teaching and learning. And whereas the school security officers establish a strong presence in the schools and develop friendly relationships with students and staff so that everyone feels comfortable coming to them when they encounter security issues. And whereas it is the desire of the Board of Education that the school security officers should be made aware of their appreciation. We do hereby proclaim Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 as Newington School Security Officers Appreciation Day. Therefore, be it resolved that we urge all the citizens of our community to join with us in actively expressing gratitude to our school security officers who represent an investment in excellence in our community. Be it further resolved that the Secretary of the Newington Board of Education is directed to spread this resolution upon the minutes of this meeting and to provide a suitable copy to the Director of Security. We have Marquetta Collier online.
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. You can hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. I want to say thank you on behalf of the security staff. We thank you very much. We
Yeah,
appreciate
it's not going to solve it because they're overriding it.
Okay.
Plus, if you come back in, it'll clear
Yeah.
whatever the audio issue is.
Yes, you're
I don't
good.
know.
Thank you once again on behalf of the security staff of the Newington schools. We greatly appreciate this day. We thank you for being recognized And we just want to say thank you once again for
Yep, I
everyone.
think they need to restart theirs.
Thank you so much.
Because I just ended ours and restarted it, so it's definitely theirs for me.
What's the other one?
Let's see. What is that?
Welcome to 882
Yep.
5124208. Please enter the meeting passcode
Okay.
followed by the pound sign. You are in the meeting now. Recording in progress.
We're just having some technical difficulties.
Are we still up for now until they,
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're really committed.
okay, so they're hearing what we do?
We can hear you all. It's just cutting into their audio sometimes. So poor Marquetta was cut off a bit, but we can hear online.
Move on to the resolution.
Okay.
Three.
I mean, we have half our members online anyway, so we can't really stop our meeting.
No, want to go into the next award and.
Yeah.
Marquetta was the only
Miss
curiosity.
Miss Beatrice, would you mind helping her with this one?
Sorry, I can't be there in person. I'm all the way in Waterbury. Traffic.
A resolution honoring Newington Hall monitors, September 24th, 2025. Whereas Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 has been proclaimed as Hall Monitors Appreciation Day. And whereas the Newington Public School System is committed to honoring its hall monitors and recognizing their contributions to the school system. And whereas the hall monitors work and interact effectively with high school students, faculty, staff, and visitors. And whereas the hall monitors assist students, staff, and visitors and help ensure safety inside the building. And whereas it is the desire of the Board of Education that the hall monitors should be made aware of their appreciation. We do hereby proclaim Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 as Newington Hall Monitors Appreciation Day. Therefore, be it resolved that we urge all of the citizens of our community to join with us in actively expressing gratitude to our hall monitors who represent an investment in excellence and in our community. Be it further resolved that the Secretary of the Newington Board of Education is directed to spread this resolution upon the minutes of this meeting and to provide a suitable copy for presentation.
And we do have one of our monitors on, Taylor Rich.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
How are you? I just want to say thank you. It's really a privilege working for Newington Public Schools. Every day I go in with a positive attitude and I try my best every day. And I just love working for Newington Public Schools. And I love that we are at Newington High School. We call ourselves the family of learners, and that's what we really are. We come together as a big family.
I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you.
You're welcome.
Do any board members want to make a comment? Ms. Beatrice?
I want to thank everybody who's been recognized tonight. And, you know, we talk a lot in this room about the impact, the positive impact that all of the people in all of our schools make in the lives of our students. And sometimes we think about the people that we see face to face, but sometimes we think about the people that we don't get to see every day. And you guys are a really great asset to our students They need positive role models in all areas, and that's what they get when they see you guys. So thank you so much for all of that you do for them. And I love the fact that it's framed as a family and a family of learners, and we impact our kids in the way they learn in lots and lots of different ways. So thank you again for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Holleran?
Thank you. I am so sorry I can't be there in person, but this is a great night for recognition. And I think it's a group that is often under-recognized. From our hall monitors to our security officers to our cafeteria staff. School, yes, is about education, but it's also about community. And I think every single person in our school system can have an impact on the life of somebody trying to figure it out. For our security officers, for keeping everyone safe, making sure that when we send our kids to school, we can rest assured that they will be in the best hands. From our hall monitors to making things stay organized and welcoming, and our cafeteria staff. The cafeteria in my high school was the social center. Beyond all the academia, beyond all the clubs, that's where we learned how to go from kids to adults. And to kind of prove that, this is a photo I have of the cafeteria workers from 25 years ago in my high school that I keep hanging up in my kitchen to remind myself that every single person in our system can make a difference, because these ladies did for me. So it's a reminder I give to myself every day that every single person has an impact. So I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you.
Wow, Sean, that's great. Ms. Weaver, just in time.
Sorry, that's
No, it's your turn. Oh, sorry. You just said you had a comment. Oh, no, you're good. You're good. No one else has their hand raised. Sorry, everyone, if I sound, I'm out of shape. It's fine. But just want to echo what Mr. Holleran just said, I think, and Ms. Beatrice. Going through the halls of Newington Public Schools, when I was there, when my sister was there, now my cousin's being there, there's always been a high caliber of cleanliness, of safety, and of community. And that's because of all of the people online today. So I just want to say thank you for what you do. It is not unnoticed. These are always like one-day things. But I think what's important is we honor you guys, because it really is those connections. You just never know what you could do for a kid. Could be that they're having a bad day, or it's the day that's going to break them, and you bring them back. So just want to say thank you for all that you do for our students, because it's not just the academics and just
All
the
right,
classroom.
everyone online,
It really
thank
is a
you for
school
hanging in there.
family
Still
journey,
having
so
technical difficulties, but
congratulations
we're
to
going to
all,
try to
and
get the
thank you.
meeting going momentarily.
Ms. Weaver is just getting back from New
and then
York,
go from
so.
there. Thank you for your patience.
Mr. Sharma?
Hey, I just want to thank all the security staff and also all the cafeteria staff for whatever you do.
You there, Sam?
Is there? He's
Oh.
not gonna have bad news.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for
News and bad
everything.
news. Hold on, Sam.
Our audio is, so this right now is, I'm gonna put this in the table with the speakers on, so you guys can hear the guy.
Okay.
These rooms combine it to one single room, and it's automated by the walls. When the walls are up, this goes into two rooms, that's why the cameras are working for each one independently, but the audio isn't, so it's sending both at once.
Okay.
So we're muting on both sides, and I have the
Echo.
Okay.
So the audio will come through
It's
your
coming
laptop.
from your computer.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you for that solution.
You can hear it.
Do we need to use? No.
Yeah.
Is it the Google Meet? Very good. Just Turn that.
That.
I'm going to put a motion to recess. Can I get a second?
Second. We are recessed until further notice.
Five, four, three, two, one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to,
Motion to come back into session.
Second.
second. I still hear. Okay, so okay. So we have a motion and a second by Ms. Carr. Is there any discussion?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes. Yeah. Did you have a question or discussion?
No, I just wanted to make sure the audio worked because I second that too.
Oh, okay. Now we hear you, but Ms. Carr, we're going to give credit to Ms. Carr. No discussion. All in favor? Aye. Okay, meeting resumed, 7:26 p.m. Okay, Mr. Sharma, I believe you were in the middle of your remarks.
Yeah, just wanted to thank, just echo what everyone else said and thank the cafeteria staff and the security staff for everything you do. So we appreciate your services. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none. Okay, yeah, just to echo, I mean, Mr. Hollering kind of said it, and Ms. Weaver this is a group, all three of these groups of people are very well appreciated and desperately needed in our school system. Obviously, feeding school lunch and breakfast is critically important for our students to be able to be ready to learn. But even just that friendly face and someone they can count on every single day, and our security officers for keeping our students safe throughout the day. And Taylor, I love that you love your job, and the hall monitors. Keeping those high school students in line is a tough job, I'm sure, but thank you for the work that you do and the rest of your hall monitors.
Thank you.
Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. All right, next on the agenda, we have public participation. So any matter related to board responsibilities, in person, you can come to the end of the table or on the phone. Bye, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you guys.
If you're online, you can raise your hand to be recognized, and we will allow 4 minutes as we will eventually be amending in theory, our policy to allow for 4 minutes. So I just put the mic on. It works.
Jonas Roberts, Pfister Drive. I believe that we are all here for the same reason. We want what is best for the students in our community. We also want to be informed citizens. Last meeting, the word curriculum was used often, but not always accurately. If we are going to be transparent and inform our community of what is happening, precision of language is very important. Curriculum is based on state standards. We have a committee of experts in our school system who writes our curriculum based on those standards. Programs, resources, and materials are not curriculum. They are used to deliver the curriculum and teach the standards. Programs are researched by the district. The list of programs is narrowed down. A group of experts in our school system pilots the programs with our students. The team of professionals meet regularly with each other to discuss which of the programs will best meet the needs of our students. I cannot stress enough that both processes mentioned above, curriculum writing and selecting programs to teach the curriculum, should be decided upon by the professionals that work with our students. Just because a program is loved by teachers in another district does not mean it is best for the students in Newington. Just because a program is used in other districts in our DIRG does not mean it is best for the students in Newington. The professionals working with our students on a daily basis should be making those decisions. I hope we can all work together with open minds and open hearts, trusting the people working with our students to make decisions that are best for our students.
Thank you. Anyone else for public participation? All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Ms. Weaver?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Holleran. You get credit for that one. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Oh. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. And we'll turn it over to Dr. Brummett.
Ready? First of all, good evening, everyone. And again, our apologies for the technical difficulties. Both rooms were interfering with each other, but for reasons we cannot yet explain, it's been resolved. Thank you to our technology staff, both town and board, for collaborating on this. I will not, go word for word in this report, but I wanted to draw your attention to, because tonight we're talking quite a bit about curriculum, the report that was issued by our curriculum team, Ms. Freeman, Ms. Blount-Lawrence, and Mr. Salerno, about some of the courses that we either created over the summer or revised over the summer or in the course of our curriculum review cycle. So you can see quite a lengthy list of some of the curriculum that was revised or enhanced over the summer. And again, to make that distinction is there's the curriculum, which is the standards and other components that you'll hear more about later, but which is separate from the materials or the programs that are used. Sometimes those are dictated to us when it's a UConn course. It has to come from UConn as indicated on here. Other times we use state standards and go from there, but more on that later. But I just want to show everyone the volume of revisions and enhancements that were worked on in the very recent months. And also we did quite a bit of professional learning over the summer. A lot of that had to do with our instructional practices. And we had a very successful extended year program. That's our special ed services that are provided to students by law over the summer who have special needs. We ran programs at our elementary level, middle, and high, and those all ran very smoothly. And we actually gotten off to a very strong start. Our students are happy to be back. Lots of positives going on. I know we heard some positive stories earlier. I heard a really awesome story out of the high school where teachers were asked to spotlight some of the most positive things they've heard since the start of the school year, and they made this sticky note ensemble. And it was really, really touching, some of the things the students said about being happy to be back, about so glad they got their favorite teacher, so glad they're back in school with their friends. So, I mean, I think it's an exciting time of year where there's a lot of energy, and we're certainly seeing that. And that really concludes my report. I think we did share already about last meeting about the maintenance upgrades that were done over the summer. I'm sure that you've noticed our buses have moved from Garfield Street to the transfer station, and we're eagerly awaiting the month and a half to 2 months process of getting Garfield Street paved. So our buses will have a lovely paved lot in hopefully a few weeks. And we also talked about some of our other upgrades that we did over the summer. And that really concludes my report. I look forward to hearing some updates from the curriculum office momentarily. But just for folks that do read this report, it also gives you an update monthly on our enrollment. We do a monthly snapshot on that as required by law. And at the very last page, our business CFO, Lynn Boisvert, has included our current actuals, which has been a request. And she's on this document. It shows where we're at with our expenditures. And just to orientate everybody, I know there's been discussion around the non-lapsing fund. Anywhere where there's a negative right now in the parentheses, that shows where we'll be applying the non-lapsing fund as the year goes along. We're not negative overall, of course. We right now have a balance of 27 million because there's a lot of encumbrances. But this report, should you be interested, has what was appropriated by the town, as well as what's been expended, as well as what's been encumbered. So that is absolutely public-facing information that anyone can review. But when you see those negatives, they were kind of pre-planned negatives because we're going to use the non-lapsing fund to offset as the year rolls along. So that concludes my report. I'll turn it back over to board chair for any questions.
Thank you. Ms. Weaver?
Yeah, just had a question about the enrollment for ESY. Has that, I just can't recall the actual numbers, if they've increased over the years or not. It feels like that number is much larger.
They've increased.
Yeah.
More needy students require additional services in the summer. So that does increase our enrollment. I will say, through our contract with Effective School Solutions, who you saw last board meeting, they provide a no-charge summer program for students who see them during the school year as part of our contract. But during the summer, we have very busy programs running at many of our schools for all 3 levels. So it runs for the month of July, and it's an extremely busy and active program from pre-K all the way up to post-high school.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to as well. I think I know
yes.
our ESS had presented on that as
Yes.
well, having that support, and also I think a transition kind of program as well.
Yes,
like
for kids who are
high
moving from 8 to
Yeah.
9, absolutely. So those are all operational, and they're meant to support our kids. And the whole goal of extended school year is to prevent loss of learning for students who have special needs. And it's a required program by law. We have to provide extended school year by law for students on an IEP who show regression without it. And
Would
there's-
just be curious, no rush, if we could get just those numbers
Like a census?
changing.
Yep.
Yeah, and maybe if there were kind of budget items too, just to show.
Oh,
Clearly, I think there
it's a
there
biggie.
might be an inflation.
ESY expenditures.
Larger than inflation.
Okay, very good. I can have that for next month.
Thank you.
Programs.
Are there any additional questions or comments? Ms. Carr?
I noted there was a large figure, 331 transportation changes for the month of August. Has that been an issue for staff or for parents, changes in schedules for timing of kids getting picked up?
Thank you. That is the time of year where we get a lot of requests from families about maybe moving a bus stop because they feel it's unsafe, maybe petitioning to have their child on the bus because they feel there's some hazards. So that's a pretty common amount of activity, late August, early September, where we get a lot of change requests. But actually, it's running extremely smoothly. And for just in case folks didn't see it in the update, even with our buses being moved to the transfer station, bus routes did not have to be adjusted. Times didn't have to be adjusted. But that number that you read, Ms. Carr, is absolutely indicative of the time of year, that we just have a lot going on with our bus activity and requests. And then as the board knows, they also approved the vacant seat program several years back, and that will begin taking applications soon for any seats that are open where a non-bus student could avail themselves if room is available.
Mr. Newton?
Dr. Brum, a question, and this is just for my clarification. It says down here, no billing for all pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 students. Is that paid through by the state in that grant, or how? I don't understand the no billing.
Okay, what page are you on?
Page with all your students, the 56 is on the bottom, no billing for higher. On the bottom of the enrollment right there. It says no billing.
Oh, yes.
Pre-K 3 or pre-K 4.
That refers to kids who are in magnet schools. So some of the magnet schools, they bill us for the services, and others do not because they get different types of funding. So kids who are in a magnet school for pre-K, we don't pay for, and also kids who are in a Hartford magnet school or a technical school, we do not pay for their educational services. Those are state funded. So that's what it refers to. Sure.
Any further questions? Thank you for that report. Moving on to new business, we have curriculum committee updates. Is that Mr. Halloran?
Thank you. I was having some technical difficulties there. But yes, we met Tuesday, September 16th. And we started it by going over the 2025 SBA and NGSS achievement data by school grade and student groups going back to 2018, comparing some year-over-year data, excluding the COVID year, to try to decide what we want to talk about in our curriculum meetings going forward. Some of the items we've landed on is talking about benchmark advance, getting some more feedback about how that's being implemented, 7th grade math, taking a deeper dive into 5th grade math and ELA, because we do see kind of a consistent pattern of a dip in that grade. So we'd like to understand more about what that's going through. We also reviewed Regulation 6146 for graduation requirements. The long and short of it is that the internship requirement, I believe, is dropping to 0.25 of a credit to better suit the reality of what we are dealing with for the academy and the internships. And we also went over policy 6152 for leveling and placement. And I think in a very abbreviated version, it was a good exercise. Kristen Freeman, I cannot give enough credit. She was able to provide data around the room. We went to each station. We had to write a story, looking at the data, trying to understand what we were seeing, what our impressions were, what we want to focus on. Really well run meeting and well attended by the public. We are going to have a joint meeting with the policy committee. I don't believe it's been finalized yet, to make sure that the curriculum committee and the policy committee can get together in one room to make sure that we are both understanding what we are doing for curriculum and the impacts on curriculum and policy and vice versa. And that is my summary. If anybody else would like to add anything, Jess, Tim, or Kristen, feel free. But productive meeting, long meeting, and I look forward to the next one.
Thank you. Ms. Weaver?
Just noting, I will be working with Mr. Holleran still on getting a schedule. We also need to schedule a regular policy meeting. I think we've just decided that one for October 1st, just because we do have some legislative mandated policies we need to get through ASAP. So it will be coming out very soon. Just need to coordinate with a lot of people here. And I would just note too, the other thing, we did set kind of topics or agendas for the curriculum committee going forward. Who's ever on it. I think one of our focuses was wanting to discuss some of the alternative pathways, and we don't want to say, we'll say non-college track pathways, particularly in light of some of the exciting news we've heard about our health science tracks and differentiations in the academies that we have, academy tracks we have at the high school as well. Just to highlight, I think maybe not everyone knows what are the different tracks, particularly those that are on a non-college track, if they're looking to go into trades or they're looking to go into other things, what we're offering. And I say the exciting development being, we got an ambulance. Not to be used because we need all these emergencies. I just want to also clarify that.
Yes. It does not move.
Fully functional. It is a great training tool.
Fully functional does not drive.
It doesn't move.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Moving on to curriculum development presentation, Ms. Freeman.
Yes, I'd just like to queue up Ms. Freeman's presentation. As our board will recall, last meeting, we had a question at the end of the meeting, and following protocol, we didn't address it then, but committed to having that addressed today by Ms. Freeman, who is the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. And it's blank, but she's going to advance it. The goal of her presentation is to show the board and our attendees here, and she did do some handouts relative to the pretty intense process of writing and reviewing curriculum. What we follow here in Newington is extraordinarily typical for the state, and is also the process that our attorneys believe is the proper process based on laws and protocols. But I think Kristen and in her department, and she's worked with her elementary curriculum coordinator to work on this presentation, is really an effort to show what goes into this process, which is an evolutionary process that's year-long. So I'd like to turn the mic over to Kristen and hope that our clicker is working.
Okay. You're good. So there are 10 of us at the board table this evening, and I want you to imagine that all 10 of us are going on a trip. We're going to take a trip to Kenya, so it's our destination. So we're going across the ocean, across the continent, right next to the Indian Ocean. Because there's so many of us, we have a destination, but we want to make sure everybody enjoys the trip. So I checked in with Mr. Mealy right before the meeting, and he said, you know what, if we're going there, I got to make sure we see the cheetahs. And I'm like, all right, we're going to make sure. Ms. Craig, I know that she's a big beach person, so she's telling me we've got to go to Mombasa Beach so I can see the Indian Ocean. Dr. Brummett's a big foodie, so she wants to make sure that she samples some of the cuisine, comes back with some recipes. And so you can imagine everybody has their own individual interests and desires that they want to see. So we know that this trip is going to be successful if we can collect evidence that we did all of those things. And now we need to figure out a way how we're going to get there. How are we going to go from here in Newington, Connecticut, go all the way to Kenya, but also make sure that we see cheetahs, we see the Indian Ocean, we get to sample all of the cuisine and hit every other interest. If we take a trip like that, we don't just get up and all leave and just kind of head east and hope for the best. We have to have a really specific route in order to get there. And that is what curriculum writing is like. It's like creating the route of a trip. But our destination is our standards. And not just the standards, but we want students to master the standards. The evidence that we collect are our assessments. You probably knew them back in the day as quizzes and tests. We usually just call them assessments now. And then, of course, we have our route, how to get there, and that's our learning plan. So I want to talk about the development of curriculum and that it is a strategically a process starting with the destination first, then looking at the evidence. And we don't even talk about how it is we're going to teach it or how we're going to get there until we have all of this information set, just like if all of us are going to take that group trip. So I like to think of curriculum development. It's kind of like our GPS in order to get to student mastery. So if you have handouts in front of you, you're not going to have to read every single paper. I actually had a conversation with Dr. Brummett and Ms. Lawrence, and I wondered how much of the handouts I should provide as to not overwhelm. And it's a struggle to talk about curriculum development on a surface level because it's just not a surface level process. I was actually hoping Mr. Roberts was speaking, he could just kind of take over. So we're going to start at the beginning. I want you to open up your packets. We're in the blue to pages 1 through 6. We are going to build a 5th grade, chosen on purpose. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? 5th grade math. So if you look at the pages 1 through 6, those are the Common Core math standards for grade 5. Common Core standards for grade 5. I would need to give you about an hour to really read through all of those, but I ask that you just take a glance at them. And when you get to the standards, take note of the complexity of the standards and how they are written. But those standards that we either get from the state or at the national level, That is our destination, always. So we need to make these standards a little bit more palatable, and we have to figure out how we're going to organize them. So the next thing we do is from the standards, we create a pacing guide. If you find page 7, you're still in blue, you'll find the pacing guide, and this is how we're going to organize all these standards into these units. And not only that, the units have to make sense in the sequence we go, but we only have 181 days, unless it's a COVID year, then I guess we only go for 180 in order to have students master all of that. So this gets even trickier, trying to figure out the time allocation for the standards in which we've organized into the units. So in order to determine how much time, we have a process called powering standards. When you look at all of the standards that are present in grade 5 Common Core, we look at what are priority standards, and those are the standards where we give the most attention and effort into making sure that students master. Supporting standards, they're just like they sound. When students, they learn supporting standards kind of by way of the priority standards. Kids pick up their understanding of supporting standards by virtue of how the priority standards are presented. So that's just the difference between the two of those. And finally, we now need to get to language that all of our teachers are going to understand in working with students on a daily basis. It's a process called unwrapping standards, but we look at what are the concepts and skills. So what do students need to know? What do they need to be able to do? So if you go to page 9, now you start getting into language that you're like, oh, okay, now I know what you're talking about. So that process alone of just being in stage 1, all we've done is we've just gone from standards to really, what do those standards really mean? But notice the complexity of the process. So that's stage 1, all in blue is our destination. So now we have to move to evidence.
Say that again.
You like Cheetos?
Cheetos?
She does. All right. So our evidence is, how do we know that students actually mastered? Students don't master standards because we taught them. Students master standards because they've learned them. So teaching really doesn't happen just because we teach. Teaching happens when learning happens. So we have to have evidence that we've actually met that. And that's what assessments drive. So we are going to go right to Unit 2 of this curriculum. We're still in 5th grade math. The first thing that we'll do is we're looking at Unit 2 is say, at the end of the unit, what does success look like? We develop a summative end-of-unit assessment first. So that is on pages 11 through 14. Mr. Newton is going to create the answer key for us. He's going to do all the questions for us. So the assessments are created, but we're not going to rely just on Mr. Newton's opinion about whether the answer is right or not. Collectively as a team, we have to create a rubric, a scoring guide that actually measures what student success looks like. So now as you head into pages 15 to 22, you will notice that every single question on the summative assessment has a scoring guide. The scoring guide is rated from a 1 all the way up to a 4, and there's distinct words there that match the level of mastery. In the most perfect world, every student is going to be hitting 3 or 4 in a perfect world. So now we have the evidence at the end of the unit, but it would be really bad practice if we taught for 30 days and then said, "Whew, I hope the kids do okay on the big test." So we take little steps along the way. So back in our day, at least my day, those were usually called quizzes. We call them now interim assessments. And so there's one example of an interim assessment in your packet. And that also has to have a rubric because we have to know how to score it. So that's on pages 23 and 25. So I'm going to pause right there, mostly so I can get a drink. We've talked about our destination as a student learning always comes from the standards. Now we talked about we have to create the evidence and what the evidence looks like. I just want to pause and see if there's questions.
Ms. Weaver, I don't know if it's at this level, and this is just personal question, do you also have like the activations? Like we used to have schema activators, so that's aging me. But also like, I don't know, AP Calc, we did a daily like warm up, so to speak.
So in general, that is going to be at the discretion of the teacher. Good practice is that you always begin a lesson with activating some kind of background knowledge and also with sparking curiosity with kids, but that's going to look different for every subject area, for every grade level. But when we get to the very end, I'm definitely going to answer your question for this unit. Other questions? Yes, Mr. Mealy.
Didn't take 24 pages of, we changed a lot of words. The words to me make it more confusing. I'm confused already. And we're talking about 5th grade math, right?
Well,
so why do we complicate it so much?
So we're not talking about 5th grade math. We are talking about, I was charged with giving you a presentation about how we develop a curriculum for teaching 5th grade math. So what you have in front of you are the materials that a curriculum committee, teachers, would create so that they can be in their classrooms teaching the 5th grade math. So this is not necessarily for students. Yes, the quizzes and tests are, but the curriculum, that is for teachers so that they can deliver the instruction.
It still seems like, even for the teachers, it seems like a lot of stuff. You know.
It is a lot of work. It is. And in order to align to state standards, which is the expectation in Newington and across the state, and our success is measured by assessments like SBA, that all has to align to standards. So without that kind of alignment, when we get to that big test, the big summative test of SBA or SAT, student learning is the performance is not going to be on par if we don't have things that are aligned with standards. You are correct. It is an incredibly complex and intricate process.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now we're going to take our route. This is how we're going to get to Kenya, right? Because you guys all told me you want to do different things, but now we're going to take a learning route. We know our destination, that's all the blue. We know the evidence that we want to collect. Now we're ready to say, so what are we going to do in front of kids in order to make that happen? And I want to make a real important distinguishment here. Teachers don't come to work and say, I think it's a good day to teach fractions, and maybe today I'll teach them how to add fractions. Okay, that lesson went well, and maybe now we're going to add in some mixed numbers. And I'm being a little bit flip and kind of silly about this, but the process is never about let's just teach, and we get to the end of teaching and say, all right, so now let's make a test. That kind of process is completely outdated. It is not good for kids because you don't ensure that your teaching was matching what we wanted kids to be able to do on that final assessment. So that's why those assessments always come first. So we're in this final stage of these learning experiences and we want to create a path. We have to make sure that everything is aligned with the rigor. So that talks about the complexity of the standards. To Mr. Mealy's point, if he just spent all the time in those standards, I look at them and I say, how is 5th grade math so complicated? But we need to make sure that we understand what those standards are saying, but understand the depth and the rigor of them. Ms. Kellogg has been here and she talked about conceptual understanding. When I learned math when I was in grade school and middle school, that was not a focus. It is a heavy focus right now. And again, that comes from knowing those standards. We also want to make sure in this route to learning that we have multiple opportunities for students to engage with new content. Learning is a process. Learning is a process that happens inside our brains. It is a process that is unique to every person. And if I could make simple the way that learning happens, we take in new information. We somehow begin to wrestle with that new information by connecting it with something that's familiar to us. That goes to the activator. And it's as we continue to kind of combine something that we already know with something brand new, now we have new knowledge that we've created. So you can imagine, based on our backgrounds, based on our experiences, we all have different types of backgrounds knowledge that we bring to the table. So it's so important that teachers are giving multiple opportunities for students. Day one, not all kids get it. Day two, all of a sudden kids are like, oh my gosh, now I understand. And for some of them, it's just because of their background knowledge, or it might be the way that the material is presented. In math, we typically use manipulatives. So kids really like to be able to use the tens blocks and the little cubes and use those manipulatives to help them understand math. And still, when I observe elementary teachers, there were kids that were just like me. Just give me the piece of paper and the pencil because I know how to write the equation. I can already see it in my head. So we honor those different ways that students learn. And so that's really important that that shows up in that route to mastery, that learning experience. Your learning experience for 5th grade math, Unit 2, pages 26 through 32. So what I just want you to appreciate is the length of this part of the curriculum writing process. You can see the depth in which it is written. So we don't just say, teach fractions on day 1, teach adding fractions on day 2, teach subtracting fractions on day 3. It is very strategically done so that one skill builds on top of the next skill. And when they review that entire learning plan, again, making sure that we're meeting these requirements, that kids are having multiple opportunities and they're having different ways that materials can be presented to them. Pausing for questions about the learning plan. Yes, Ms. Weaver.
Once again, just like for like lesson 13 slides or these kinds of things. And my experience with some of my teacher friends, they're making up like lesson plans weeks of, or, you know, a couple days in advance because they're adapting. Is that fair to say that that often has to happen? Like there's the curriculum structure written out as it should be. And then ultimately teachers are making quote lesson plans.
Yes,
More
100%. So at the very end, you're going to see a lesson. But to your point, this specific curriculum, we decided to align a lot of the resources we use with illustrative math. Illustrative math by Kendall Hunt. It comes with slides prepared. It comes with suggestions about how to introduce the lesson. But to your point, Ms. Weaver, I can read that as a teacher and say, okay, I could see how this is going to make sense. But I know my students, this is not going to work for them. And so that would be an expectation for a teacher based on what they know about their students to make those adaptations, or just decide, however illustrative math these experts have decided to be presented, I am not presenting it that way because I know it's better for my kids and that's what I'm going to do.
So I guess clarifying too, just to get some of the definitionals back, like that's not curriculum, that's lesson, like how would we kind of.
So illustrative math advertises itself as a curriculum. I'm gonna be very careful with my words. Illustrative math advertises itself as a curriculum. When you look at the illustrative math materials, you can go online and find them. It gives you a sequence of what to teach Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4. It gives to you suggestions for what those daily lesson plans can be. It gives you samples of what you can use for interim assessments, what you can use for summative assessments. It does not give you the scoring criteria. But here's the challenge. So you could say, well, why do you go through all this work? Why don't you just pick up illustrative math? If my child was sitting in a 5th grade classroom and you were the teacher, and so my kid is coming to you for 5th grade, and I want them to master all the 5th grade standards, and your teaching was just picking up the book and reading, okay, this is what I'm going to do on day 1, that's not giving teachers the opportunity to know the content in depth in a way that when my kid gets stuck with math, you're going to say, you know what, I have another way to explain it because I know what we're going to do in 2 days, and this is what's going to help you make connections. So it gives us a lot of materials that support the implementation of the curriculum, and some of those might look like they are lessons. Okay. Yes.
Just taking that a step further. So illustrative math is, there's lesson plans or there's ways to teach. And what you were just saying is that if a student isn't getting it, then there might be another opportunity for the teacher to present it in a different way that's not at all a part of illustrative math, right? So we have other programs like iExcel or other things that supplement.
Yes, and I think there's a teacher in the audience right now, so I'll just look at him for confirmation about this. When I was a teacher and I had my curriculum and I might have suggested lessons, for me, one of the most fun parts of teaching outside of being with kids was planning a lesson and thinking about, oh God, I've got to teach this subject, and it's about the 3 types of rocks, and this is so boring for kids. How can I make this lesson like really creative and come to life? And I think that's like teachers enjoy it, that they enjoy getting into that creativity. The most important thing, so if I went in and I saw Mr. Roberts, and I know it's not the lesson, I might say, so tell me about that. And he would say, oh, well, the last 3 years I've taught it, the kids are falling asleep. It's the most boring lesson in the world. And I wanted to try something new. And I say, my gosh, and the kids were so excited. So we want teachers to bring in their level of expertise, and we trust teachers to make those decisions to modify maybe a lesson that has been provided to them based on the students that are in front of them. You're the chair, you don't have to.
Not working. Okay. And I think we saw that with our reading curriculum, this teacher that came and brought her students here, and they were at convocation as well, where she allowed her students to pick the topic that they were interested, but they were still doing the work that the standards, the state standards, and the following this route to mastery.
That is correct. So a really good example is when we get into middle school for ELA, and students are in book clubs. So you might imagine that there's 3 different novels that are being read in a class. Kids are in book clubs. They all have the same final assessment, that all has the same criteria, but it's based on what they read. So even though there's that difference, we're still assessing them to the same standards. Yes. So what I heard Ms. Aguirre talk about is that she decided to come up with what she thought was going to be a more engaging way for her students to meet those standards. Ms. Weaver.
Also just getting to the point, like, I don't know if the public really wants this, but I'm curious in that we have curriculum writers as well. Like do we pay teachers the extra to over the summer write curriculum themselves?
That is a part of their we do pay teachers a curriculum rate that is negotiated in their contract. By themselves, I know it is overseen by somebody like Ms. Spiller, who is the coordinator for science, so she would oversee that. Some of our programs do not have administrators that oversee it. So in that case, it's usually me or Mrs. Lawrence that is working with that team to make sure that the process is smooth.
Yeah, so that was my question, was more like in terms of oversight or collaboration, what does that look like, particularly when it's maybe a new quote, I don't want to use this word now, program versus something where we have to, have I know we have like department meetings where it's like just the history folks, and you have a history department head, and then you also have like a curriculum coordinator. So how many people are involved when it comes to
So
these kinds of
that
things?
is such a huge, it depends. So some of the curricula that you saw on that update, it was one person writing it in collaboration with me because only one teacher teaches that one course. So people who don't teach the course, it doesn't make, or they don't have a level of expertise, it wouldn't make sense. In your bigger areas like grade 8 ELA, grade 7 ELA, in the middle schools, we ask for a requirement, one teacher hopefully from each school, so we have those perspectives. When you look at something like Benchmark, which is huge, that was a team of, I want to say there were probably 15 to 20 people that were on that, because keep in mind the number of grade levels. So it still has to align for the standards, but in that curriculum writing, they were making decisions about, so we're looking at all of these resources. How are the resources going to help us with a learning plan to meet these standards? And they also had different assessments that were in Benchmark. They did that for a year. And then this past summer, they went in and they revised it again. We always know the first year of implementation is when we make the most mistakes, but it's also when we learn the most. So Mrs. Lawrence she oversaw that process, and they helped kind of clean up or really tighten up the areas of the curriculum that they knew were a little bit short the first time that it was implemented.
This one's sorry. On average, how many curriculum changes do you think will happen a year? You can come back.
I
with
would
that.
say, if I'm guessing, probably about 30. And some of them are big and some of them are small.
And is timing, like, would you say there would be a mid-year change, or are they all
No, so I'll talk about it. Can you hold on to that
Yeah,
second? 'Cause
absolutely.
we're almost
Yeah.
there, and we'll
Sorry,
talk
I
about the
just wanted-
second. No, no apology needed at all. Anybody else just on lessons and learning plan? Oh, don't tell me that it now all of a sudden. Dr. Brumman, can you hit enter? So really quickly, I'm going to sum it up. We're going to go from a journey from a standard, remember that's where we started, to one single lesson. Dr. Brumman? This is a standard that you'll find within the standards in one of those first pages. Remember, then we have to figure out, what is this standard even saying? These are the concepts and skills that the standard is asking for. This is one lesson. So it looks like this probably takes a good 5 or 6 lessons just to address one standard. So the target is just one lesson, but it always has to connect back up to the standard. Brumman? This question on the end of the unit test is a question that aligns with that standard and mostly that target. There needs to be alignment. What we are asking kids to perform has to be exactly what it is that we taught them. Last one. And then we finally get to the lesson. So you can find the lesson on page 33. That's the very, very last page. The lesson there just shows you the sequence of the slides that are used to present it. And so I think it has a warm-up in there. Yep. So that was to ask to your question. So you can see going again from what we start with, these large standards, and coming down to one lesson isn't just, I'm going to go in, I'm going to look at a standard, I'm going to create a lesson. All of that process before that has to take place so that learning is actually a coherent experience for kids. And Dr. Brumman, if you go to the very, very last slide. So, one thing I would share with you is that we have a 5-year cycle to your question. So it literally is a table that we renew every single year. So every 5 years minimally, we will evaluate a curriculum for its effectiveness. Now, sometimes the state says, we don't care where you are in the 5 years, here is new standards, and we generally respond to that. And so it might be 3 years we renew. Or we know that the state is going to release standards 2 years from now, but we're at the 5-year mark. Why are we going to do that? If standards haven't been released, then maybe that revision and update is going to be minor. They've recognized that parts of the learning plan aren't really as effective for kids, or maybe they've recognized that the assessments aren't as performance-based as we want them to be. So it would be a small curricular revision. Most recently, we have new social studies standards that are being released. Those are going to be much larger and longer processes. So I submit the task to Mr. Freese's office. They might be 10 hours long. They might be 100 hours long. And remember, the hours get divided by the number of people that are on the committee. The other link that I put in there is our curriculum overviews are published, and that is per statute that we provide overviews for all of the courses that we teach. If you scroll down just a little bit. So here is each of the grade level overviews. And then for the high school, it links out to the program of studies, which gives a description of each of those courses. And with that, I will take any questions. I'm sorry that we're not really going to Kenya, but more than happy to take any questions from you. And I'm going to sit down now. Go ahead.
Not a question as much as a comment. Thank you so much for this in-depth explanation. Again, you know, we talked a little bit earlier about terms, and maybe I'm not fully understanding what those terms mean and in the proper context. So thank you so much for really digging deep and providing me with that. The other thing too that I'm struck by you and your team is the level of detail and science and you know, reviewing and parsing and breaking it down to its most effective denominator, not common, but really most effective. And by seeing it in person, it really, I'm more visual, so it really gives me the background that I needed to more fully understand the process. So thank you very, very much.
The only response that I would provide is I heard you, Ms. Beatrice, talking about the art and science of teaching, right? That scientific part is about the alignment. It's about what we know about how the brain learns. The artful part of it is knowing your kids in front of you and how you're going to respond to them in the moment. The artful part is that every single one of our teachers has a different personality and a different style that they bring into classrooms, and we all encourage our teachers to use that as their strength. And for me, when I talked about the fun of teaching, that's what really, for me, got me energized and excited.
Just follow up, and again, more appreciation for the hard work that our educators do, knowing each child's strengths and weaknesses in such a personal and detailed manner. And I can't even begin to imagine the amount of, that would be a hard challenge for me with a classroom of 20 kids, and knowing them that well, that they are able to work within this framework to give them success. And so again, huge thank you.
Ms. Weaver? Oh, did you have your hand up? I didn't see any other hands.
Just to follow up. So for a kid that's meeting this standard and they want to, I don't know, I'm not going to use the word excelling, but they want to meet more higher standards. Is that built into the extra materials? So like illustrative math has like, your kid met the standard already. There's another thing.
So that is another huge it depends question. So if we were to look at illustrative math, there may be parts in that they advertise themselves as a curriculum where it would be above the curriculum standard, and that might be a really good enrichment activity. More times than not, teachers are using what they know about the standards. Math is a really great example because math, it builds itself sequentially. So if I'm a 5th grade teacher and I'm on a standard, it's really easy to jump to the 6th grade standard of what builds on it. And so for teachers, they would create learning experiences based on that standard for an opportunity for the student who is already meeting it.
So a kid in 7th grade could get an 8th grade standard.
Yes, or we're still going to work with the 7th grade standard, but the way that a child might have to analyze a problem and solve a problem and take apart a problem and put it back together can be much more complex. And so it might also align to the standard there. So that's a different way that we kind of tinker with rigor of a standard as well, is the way that kids have to actually demonstrate that is a way that we can up that rigor.
Okay. And lastly, I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. Like, if you said the arrangement in our classrooms, so leveling and placement, that in your definition would not be curriculum, but it would be programmatic, like just as we use these, not even just now, but like going forward, when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to other things, what is that considered?
The choice to group students into 2 different tracks in 7th grade is not a curricular decision. The choice to put kids into 2 different types of groups based on their ability on the data that we have is a decision about how we group students together for their learning.
So that doesn't change the curriculum.
Well, no, but there is a slightly different curriculum now that is being implemented in Accelerated 7 because it includes additional standards.
Okay.
Right.
So
But
the
we didn't
additional standard,
change,
okay.
we didn't, right. There's not a changing of the curriculum. It is a changing in how we're grouping students together in order to master the standards. However, can I just say one more
Please.
thing? If you go to 9th grade English, I'm actually going to use science as an example. If you go to biology, the biology curriculum is the biology curriculum is a biology curriculum. There is no CP bio curriculum. There is no honors bio curriculum. It is just the curriculum. And we still group students by their perceived ability, but it is the same exact curriculum.
Can I just ask on the, back to the rigor piece of it, because in the handout, page 26, the implementation plan, it says, what is CYU? It says CYU and assessment.
If you give me a second.
Regardless of what that means, it also says mild, medium, and spicy. And I remember Michelle talking about, or it says mild, medium, and spicy, or general practice opportunities. And I remember Michelle talking about the, a student who might be there with the mild problems, but they're going to get a spicy problem because that's going to increase the rigor. It's going to force them to think about the problem or solving it a different way, or maybe showing their work a different way. Is that correct? So the curriculum is the same. The curriculum offers or allows for multiple levels of rigor.
Yes, and so CYU is consolidating your understanding. So in the BTC model, kids are often, they're exploring the consolidation of your understanding, the yours to the students. It's really critical that the teacher brings the kids together at the end of the lesson to make sure that they're consolidating their thinking correctly, right? To make sure that there's any misconceptions that need to be addressed. The mild, medium, and spicy, those are often offered as tasks in the classroom or can be offered as different practice when kids go home.
Just another note on, I'm not sure what page it was, but the mastery-based grading, is that what we're calling it? The progressing, meeting, exceeding. I was just reading some of those, and like the meeting might be like they got the right answer, they showed their work one way, and they're good. That's like a 3, and that's ideal. We want our students to be at 3. Exceeding, which is a 4, would be that they got the answer, they showed their work, but maybe they showed it multiple times. I was reading in here. So I think that's also another level of distinction for meeting the standard versus exceeding, and another way to show that students are at different levels.
Yes, you're correct, because the standards generally say that we always teach kids multiple ways to solve problems in math. What we want kids to be able to do is to say, I know how all these 3 ways work, but this is the way that works for me for this problem. So that ends up being the student outcome that we want to try to meet. So that's the kind of language you would see for these standards. If we were looking at a different curriculum, the language might be very different.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Ms. Carr.
I actually was going to go off what you were saying, the difference between meeting and exceeding. I guess the only concern I have is how the questions are phrased currently. Explain or show your reasoning. It may stop kids from going over multiple ways of how they know how to solve a problem. And then they're only getting meeting scores instead of getting exceeding scores, if that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. And students who are in the classroom on a daily basis with their teachers come to understand how the assessment, how the scoring works, and that if they want to show multiple ways to show that they know it in more than one way, then they can. So we don't leave kids to be like, well, we're going to leave it up to you to kind of guess how you might get a 4. We don't do that to kids. So that information would be provided by the teacher.
Ms. Weaver?
And just following on that, just from an assessment standpoint, is there a prescribed way on an SBA or on something on an like a more state standardized assessment where it would say show your work? Most of them, I believe, are multiple choice though.
Yeah, so a lot of the SBA items are multiple choice, so it's right or wrong, but there are ones that are open-ended where kids do have to show their thinking, and it could be 3 different ways where you could get quote unquote full credit.
Just wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
I think just something that I took away, and actually Mr. Mealy said it, is that this is a lot of work. So I think it is really the reason why we have you and the curriculum department, but also the teachers that are spending their summers or extra time to rewrite the curriculum, because they're the ones that know the material or know the standards and are able to take that standard and break it down into a teachable lesson, because that's really the job of the teacher. And that's why we have professionals in this community to do that work, because it's a lot. And I think there's, I can read a standard and like, I don't know what it means, like I might be able to solve a math problem, but the standards, it's really, people go to school for this and are educated to teach specifically what we need to do. So state standards we have to follow them by law. So I think it's a really important job, and not something that is just done by anyone. It's definitely a profession, so which professionals need to do. So that's just my takeaway from this. Any other questions, comments? No? Okay, well, thank you so much for the presentation. And we will post, I know the link was shared to the handouts that we got, but we will post it online as well with the minutes. So anyone watching it back can follow along. All right, and the next item for new business is a discussion on adding, follow-up to our discussion last time on adding online payment methods.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have Lynn Bover on the line, and she has done some follow-up at the request of the board from last meeting. So I'll kick it over to her about her latest updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brummett. We looked into the specific ones that we have currently, and we do have the ability to expand what we have now for our food service program and our Chromebook program and our preschool program to all of the programs so that we can have the one company that collects the funds online for all of the schools in the whole city and town, sorry.
So that's that Easy School Pay that we use. That's what you're referring to, correct?
Yes.
So I guess I have a question. How do payments or items get set up in that system? Like I think, field trip paying or class dues or even the school store, like how would that work as far as adding items to that shop? I guess it's how it really is set up.
There are specific shops set up for different things, and so whoever would be in charge of that specific thing. There's many teachers that are in charge of specific things, and sometimes there are stipended positions that are in charge of things. They would be setting those up, or it could also be done by someone within the central office. That's something that we would need to explore, because by sending it out to all of the different schools and programs, it could get difficult. So that was something that I wanted to explore with Dr. Bromet further.
Okay, Ms. Weaver has a question.
Yeah, I was just going to ask twofold. Thank you, Lynn, for exploring more. I appreciate you taking the time and effort because I know you looked at multiple programs. But just curious, one, if there's additional costs to that to expand it out, or if that's currently already kind of baked into it. And two, how much is this a lift in terms of manpower?
For the cost, it depends on what kind of a card you use basically right now. MasterCard has one cost, Visa has a different cost, and anything other than those two has a different cost, because we also have American Express that comes in a different cost. So those percentages are based on the banks, and there's really very little we can do to not have those fees be charged unless we bore the brunt of it ourselves, and that would be something that we would have to budget for. We couldn't do that now. I'm not sure that that's something that you would even care to do, but it will be something that I can bring to you the actual costs it would be. I just have to know how you want it handled.
So the costs are on the parent or the families to pay the different credit card fees?
At the current time, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to clarify, would there be additional costs on the board for the platform expansion?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that's a distinction between Easy School Pay and some of the other platforms we looked at that bore extra costs. But much like when you go to the gas pump, you get a cheaper price for paying cash than you do for credit. That same concept applies to the use of credit cards for school-based, but it's a convenience, which many of our students have expressed an interest in.
That is basically what they call it, a convenience fee.
Yeah. So just curious on the manpower side of things, kind of how much that would take, maybe timeline, just rough guesstimate on those kinds of things.
Honestly, it depends on how many clubs and groups wanted to use the platform. It's very easy to set up. We've been looking into it, and you just have to know what you're going to put on it. You can put all these different items. You can create a school store with the items on it. It just depends on how you want to be used. It could be used for pay for play. It could be used in many, many different ways.
And I believe we talked about, Ms. Bovera, the use of a point of sale device like you see at certain vendors where people could use their credit card and tap it or swipe it?
Yes, that is correct. Craig was looking into the viability of that because we need network capability for that. So Craig Holland, our IT director, is getting that information for me so that we could make it much easier for everyone to just tap and go.
Okay, yeah, that's, cause yeah, like at the school store, I know right now they're taking cash and check only. I think it's run by Ally Miller, right, in DECA?
At the high school, yes.
At the high school. So like, I'm wondering, could we reach out to maybe some of the teachers or whoever there, like the stipend positions, like Ally Miller or someone in, the office at different schools to see what their thoughts might be and how it might, what it might mean for them to add the easy school pay to whatever they're.
We could certainly do that. I think the biggest impact would be high school for sure, but other, I think even sports, paying for sports fees, we could go as far and as wide as we want to go. So I think it sounds like we need to do a little more homework to bring back the extensiveness of this as well as interest on departments. But I think it is going to make things a little more convenient for folks. And they decide,
And
if they
even
don't
if-
want to do it, then they can pay cash or check.
Even if we like pilot like sports fees for the winter sports, that option or the school store, obviously with Ally's permission or go ahead, but just maybe even just a small pilot to see what it would take to add, just kind of, and then we can bring that back.
I
I think Ms. Bernard could do that. We could talk to Craig to see the infrastructure needs and then maybe pilot it with a few departments.
I know that Ally is very interested in it, and she was, we spoke earlier last week, and she's very interested in piloting it.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that? Pilot sound good.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Lynn. We really appreciate the research and looking forward to hearing how it goes.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us back to public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities. If you're in the room, you can come to the end of the table, or online, you can raise your hand to be recognized. No, just turn on your mic. Thank you.
Hi, Gail Stanley, 28 Cornish Drive. I want to thank the board and especially Kristen for preparing this presentation for us today. It was really helpful and clearly differentiates the differences between programs and curriculum, which is really important for us to define those concepts. I just had a couple notes about your presentation going through, thinking about the state standards and how often they change, and how quickly are we required, or how quickly do we advocate, or how quickly do we try to respond to these changes. And there must be some overlap in the state standards and some redundancy built into this. When we think about the proposal of the Bridge to Algebra course in the curriculum, I only saw that there was 3 state standards that were going to be covered on there. So that means that there must be a lot of redundancy between the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade curriculums, or not. I see you're shaking your head, but we must highlight the important ones, or and so who makes that determination, and how does that happen, and why? And there must be different curriculum plans or designs when we think about including more of these standards and including different assessments and including an abbreviated lesson plan or a different pace for the lesson plans. When you think about how it was done for the accelerated math students so that they got access to Algebra 1 by the 8th grade, there must have been something different. And what are we missing out, or what can we build upon when we think about what should be included in this Bridge to 1 algebra curriculum? Because it is somewhat concerning that we have only identified 3 things for these students to cover in this curriculum, but it's preventing a lot of or it's causing a lot of angst in the community. So how and why was it only 3 standards that are considered to be the most important? And then I think my other thoughts were it doesn't, what I thought was really important about this presentation, and it doesn't say anything about how or the programs that we decide how it's being taught. So it doesn't say about de-leveling classrooms. It doesn't say about students must have heterogeneous learning in order to, become facile with these standards. And so just remembering when we're talking about these conversations for all of us, that we keep these 2 ideas very separated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on the phone? Online? And Ms. Stanley, you'll get a response back, shortly. Yep. All right, remarks by board members. Mr. Newton?
I think it's important that we continue on the path we're on with more, not that it was hidden before, but openly discussing curriculum, openly discussing the methodology and what her staff have to go through just to get a lesson plan. I think it helps for a better understanding with the public as well as the board as to all the parts that go into this. It's not just a simple decision. And I think that the more open we are, the better it will be for everybody. So I'd like to see us continue that.
Thank you. Ms. Bieber? Just want to say thank you for the presentation tonight. Sorry, everyone. I came in here disgustingly sweaty and coming home from New York City, but it's climate week. So fun times, maybe something our kiddos could go to. There's a free 3-day conference. So also the UN General Assembly happening, nothing crazy going on. So apologies, thought I would make my train faster, but tis what it is. But I just wanted to note too that we have some exciting things happening, maybe some Teacher of the Year things happening soon. Is that public or that our Teacher of the Year is a finalist? Very excited, very biased, as she was my 2nd grade teacher. So just once again, I think that's many in a row that we've had semifinalists or finalists. So clearly a great caliber of teachers that we have here in the school. I think that are emblematic. How many finalists are there? 4. I believe I was told it would go down to from 80 to 16 to 4. So just wanted to note how impressive it is to be a finalist in this award. So Mr. Rano, congratulations already. And then just to note too, we will have a policy meeting on October 1st, and then I will coordinate with Mr. Holland as the chair of the curriculum on that. We just want to also get our policies through, not to delay, but get our policies through that are legislatively mandated, like some of the paid leave and those kinds of things that go into effect or are already in effect. We want to be in compliance with those too. So we will cover that. The agenda will go out this week at some point, October 1st, 7 p.m. For our next policy meeting. Just want to put that on the record. Thank you. Go ahead, Tony. Put your mic on, please. Can you just put your mic on, please?
Sorry. So and this is no reflection on anybody here, Ms. Freeman. This is all very confusing, I think, to me, maybe to the average person. I think you said that there could be up to 30 curriculum changes in 1 year. I don't know how the teachers and or the children can keep up. So my thought is it doesn't really surprise me that more and more parents are homeschooling children, because I think there's so much, I don't know what it is. I don't want to say politics, but there's a lot of politicians, legislators. I don't know who's making all the rules and everything, but it seems very complicated to teach our children, at least at the basic level. And then it still seems that we want to keep everybody in the middle. I know we use the word equity a lot, which means to me everybody lands in the same spot, and it doesn't really give a chance for the children that want to excel to excel. Anyways, thank you.
Mr. Halloran?
I just wanted to thank Ms. Freeman and the entire curriculum committee for providing that overview. I think that it does seem like a lot because it's complex. It's a lot of work. And I don't think these decisions are made by opinions or guesswork. It is evidence-based, science-tracked decisions. And I don't think that there are people who have an agenda to what students get taught. I think it relies on the more information we gather, the evidence that we have, the new science, the new learnings that we have, and historical precedent that make sure that what students are learning in the classroom is held to the highest possible rigor and standard that we possibly can. And I think that that presentation did a wonderful job of trying to simplify a very complex and very challenging process to ensure that curriculum is current. So I just wanted to say a big thank you because I think that was a wonderful job of trying to boil it down to its essence. And even then, there's still a lot there.
Thank you.
Motion, oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
Jess is ready to run home. Sorry. No, I'm kidding. I don't know if we can put something like this on the website just in the meantime, because I know, a lot of people in the public have questions, and I definitely think this is useful to understand the process and clarify to parents and the general public.
It will be posted on along with the minutes for the meeting as it's a meeting handout. Do you have something to say, Ms. Freeman? Yes. Would you like to speak?
I don't think that I anticipated that the decision would be made that the paper handouts would go on the website. I need to review those because some of those materials, we would call them secure materials that we don't want posted on a website like assessments and rubrics. That's why I made paper copies, and in the presentation, there are no links that go out to those. So our curriculum is secure. If parents want to view curriculum, they can call the curriculum director and we sit with them and review them. So there's a lot of parts of it that we do not make public because they're secure. So there's parts that I could. There's other parts. If you're telling me I have to do it, we have to do it. I am just telling you that I don't think that it's a good idea for that reason with the assessments.
Understood. I think we can chat. We do have to post materials online for FOI, but we can retract as needed and make note that anyone is welcome to contact the curriculum office too. Yeah. Anything else? Thank you, Ms. Freeman, for that presentation. It was very informative.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 8:48 p.m. Thank you.
Have a good night.